You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Nathan Snell, the Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. And this is episode number 370. In this episode, we are recapping the 2024 WNBA draft. But as always, I had to bring back my buddy, Brenden Potts. Brenden, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. It's been a pretty cool couple of weeks for me. It's been pretty fun for sure. But I'm ready to recap a historic WNBA draft that we just had.
For sure. Before we get into the episode introduction, the NFL draft is this upcoming Thursday. I have been working on my 2.0 mock draft. I hope to have it done by tomorrow. I'll probably record that episode. This episode will go live tomorrow. You will also see it as I'm also a new member of Team NBS Media. I'll be writing more general WNBA content, weekly grades and stuff like that. I'll be also writing for the Baltimore Ravens, Washington Commanders, and the Maryland men's and football team. So Maryland basketball and football team, excuse me. But I'll still be with MarylandSportsBlog.com. Brenden, is there anything you got going on in the works?
We got at BTL, we're just starting our coverage for the NBA playoffs. I just grinded the last couple of days putting out series previews for every matchup. So I think me and my buddy have every series down, and then not last week, but the week before, I just covered my first event, and it was the Nike Hoop Summit. I had a blast, and I met a lot of really, really cool people. The piece that I put out post Nike Hoop Summit is about a player that I really like. Her name is Toby Fournier. She's an incoming freshman from Duke. And if you don't know the name, learn it. And if you know the name, remember it. Because she's gonna take the college landscape by storm once people learn what she can do. She's the player that can dunk. She can dunk on a regulation hoop. I've never seen standing dunks, but I've just seen running dunks. And I saw it beforehand. Like, I saw it before I watched her in person, and I thought it was pretty cool. But watching it in person and seeing her do it in person, I got to tell you, I was speechless. And she's the first person I've ever interviewed in person. She was super nice. And I did a story on her, and it's one of my favorites, and it's a pretty good one. So I think I sent you the link already, but if you haven't read it, please do, because I really really loved writing it.
I'll be sure to leave in the link. I'll leave it the link in the description once I have this. Once I post this episode through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, um, those main platforms where you can see. And I'll also leave your Twitter in the description as well. I think Duke is a good fit for her. She's going to be coached by Carol Lawson, and I wish her all the best. So let's get into the WNBA draft. As Brenden said, this was a great draft. This was very, I think, a draft that sets the tone, I think, for what the league's going to look like in the next few years. I think you got some great players I think are going to elevate their teams. There were a couple teams. One team in particular got an incomplete for me. There's a couple teams. Well, first of all, how I graded it, how I personally graded it, and Brenden, you can also explain how you graded your grades. But for me, how I graded each player for their team was it the best fit. Now, some of these grades were curved, I'm being generous, but I feel as though there were a couple teams. There's one in particular. I don't think the draft with this particular team. I don't think what they're looking for is not in the draft, and we're going to get into that. Now, the Las Vegas Aces, it's next year. Correct me if I'm wrong, right, Brenden? They don't have their first round pick, or was it this year?
I believe they did not have a first round pick this year.
Pick. So let's go right into it. With the number one overall pick. Well, back up, Brenden. How are you grading these players?
Yeah, I'm grading the teams based on how they made out of the draft with the position that they were given. So, for example, I'm a little biased here, but the Seattle Storm did not have a first round pick. How did they how did they fare given the position that they were in? They had a second round pick and a third round pick, and I graded it based off of, did they get not only the best player available for their pick or on the board, but was it also a good fit for the team? Also, before we get into this, I've said this numerous times across the past year. There is no bad pick in this draft. That's how good this draft class is. There may be a player that doesn't fit well with the team, but that's one thing. But in terms of players in this draft class, there is no bad pick in this class, and I've said that for over a year now.
I agree with that. So let's get right into it. So with the number one overall pick, Indiana selected Caitlin Clark. Obviously, it was a no-brainer that Caitlin was going to be number one. I think Caitlin, now with you having two back-to-back number one overall picks last year, Leah Boston, and now this year, Caitlin Clark. Indiana, I think, has improved. I think they should be a playoff contender. I expect them to definitely improve from last year. Not only that, Melissa Smith, I know they just exercised her fourth-year option. I think also we're not forgetting about Kelsey Mitchell. That offense has the potential to be something if it's put all together well. The only question I have is, what will the starting lineup look like? But I didn't have any issues with it. But she will be coming to the league. There's a target on her back, and congratulations to Caitlin. Brenden, go ahead.
Yeah, I gave the Indiana Fever overall an A plus. I really like the second round pick for Celeste Taylor. I think that was a steal for them. Yeah, Caitlin Clark, number one overall pick. No one's surprised. It was basically written in the stars ever since she declared. So this player, I've seen her in person. I went and saw her in November of 2022. Um, she's a star, and she's gonna change she's gonna change the culture and the atmosphere for Indiana. But I gotta give it up to the Indiana fans because they've been ever since they won that championship. They've been through a lot of pain and suffering in terms of like losing and not getting to that level that they once were. Um, and they stayed patient, and they got two number one overall picks back to back years, in Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. And people forget this is how short of memories we have. People forget that Aaliyah Boston was a really talked about prospect before she was drafted, and she was a slam dunk number one overall pick as well. So to now have two of those that have shown that they really are going to enjoy playing with each other, I think it's really cool. So I think I have Indiana being a bottom tier playoff team just because I don't know what they're going to look like yet until I actually see it. But they have enough talent on this team to get in the playoffs.
And then also too, Leilani Correa was also drafted 27th overall out of Florida. They should, both her and Celeste, make the team. It is a crowded backcourt. I had Lexi Hall, I think, who had a great AU season. Look for her. We all know about her defense. Erica Wheeler. I know Victoria Vivians is now with Seattle. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will pan out for Indiana. But overall, give it a grade A as well, A plus. Let's go on to the second overall pick, the Los Angeles Sparks. They took Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink, I feel as though this was also a no-brainer. It's a new era in Los Angeles now that Neko Gumake is no longer a part of Los Angeles Sparks. Why not take her alumni from our alumni, Stanford, the Stanford product, led the country in blocks this year. I think has the mobility, I think has the instincts, I think to be a great defensive player, a great rim protector, off the ball. I kind of want to see. I think that'll get better as she progresses. But yeah, I give it a solid A. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And then they came back and got Rikia Jackson, so that's kind of combined with my draft grade. I gave the Sparks an A or an A plus. I'm sorry, same as you. But Cameron Brink, I think, is the best overall. Can her game translate to the pros? I think her game is the best ability to do that on both ends of the floor. Not a lot of guards are gonna like playing the Los Angeles Sparks because of their lack of ability to drive into the paint. Because Cameron Brink's just gonna be there to swat it out of there. She kind of in that same aspect, she kind of reminds me of Ezzy McElgore in that description, but she's got a lot more height than Ezzy. So that front court matchup I thought could have been reality, but it's gonna be fun to see them go against each other. But yeah, I've also met Cam in person too so many times. She's such a nice person. And her family's awesome. So I'm super happy for her. And yeah, the Sparks really made it out of the draft well. Something that nobody's spoken about yet. Think about the coaches that Cam's had in her career. Tara Vanderveer for 4 years, amazing coach, probably the greatest college coach of all time. And then switching over to Kurt Miller, that's a great. It's not a downgrade really, but it's just a great switch. And if anybody's gonna coach Cam in the pros. I'm glad it's a coach like Kurt Miller.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. Also, too, we'll get to the 4th overall pick with Rickea Jackson. Mackenzie Forbes was also selected in the 3rd round. I liked that pick. My only concern is, she's dealt with injuries through her collegiate career, but I think she should be a quality fit for Los Angeles. She's a great shot. She's a good shot maker. She reads the floor, has great ball security. And I really feel as though, again, with her playing not too far from where the Sparks currently play, University of Southern California, I think it's going to be really great for the Sparks. For number 3 overall, the Chicago Sky, they took Carmilla Cardoso. I feel as though 2 and 3 could have been interchangeable, personally, if you ask me. I think for what she has did, especially the championship run, I just think Carmella is just a dominant paint presence. I mean, you can't stop her on both ends of the floor. I think she is definitely a fundamental piece. And again, same thing in Chicago. Now led by first-year head coach Teresa Witherspoon. It should be really good for her. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of had so at 3 I originally had Rickea Jackson going to the Sky, and I kind of had what Chicago did in the first 2 picks, because they had the 7th pick as well. I had what Chicago did. I thought LA was going to do that, so that's what I thought was going to happen. But this is a draft where anything can happen. I had the same picks, or the same grade. I had them getting an A plus as well. I really, really, really like this pairing of both Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese. I did have one question for you about both of their picks. Do you think this raised, like how Chicago came out of the draft? Do you think it raises their floor at all? Because it can definitely raise their ceiling, but do you think it raises their floor at all from before the draft?
Well, personally, I think that there's only 4 players returning from last year, and you kind of have to give new management credit because James Wade made a mess of it before we got to this point. And we'll talk about the 7th overall pick when Angel Reese, but I think that Carmella and Angel, I think, are definitely foundational pieces. Now, if you think about the person you paid the most is Marina Mabry, so you kind of look to her if you're kind of building around her. The only thing I do question is the guard play now that Rebecca Gardner got moved in the offseason. They also drafted Brianna Maxwell to Gonzaga. I think that's a great pick for them.
Yeah, me too. I really like that pick.
I think the floor for Chicago has risen. I think Carmella and Angel, they're going to come out right away and show their dominance.
Yeah, I agree. One thing on Brenna Maxwell, Chicago's getting a really, really good shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Little teeny story. She came to Washington State for a visit when she was transferring from Utah. She came to Washington State, was one of the schools that she visited. And one of my friends who played on the team, I asked her who is that, and she goes, "Oh, that's a girl from Utah. She's one of their shooters." So that's how I know that Chicago is getting a shooter.
I like that. Now, I also did want to add a couple things. Now, Chicago, they did give up some future investments. Not sure how that'll look. We got to see how that looks. I know they got they had Sky Cone, and they gave her right back to Minnesota. And they're swapping first round picks in Minnesota in 2026. So I'm curious to see how that will look, but I'm not worried about it. So, um,
They knew that Angel Reese was their player. They knew they had to do whatever they could to get Angel Reese.
for sure, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Let's
That's how I
move.
look at that right now.
I agree with you. Number 4, Los Angeles. Brenden already said it. Rickea Jackson. That was no brainer. I think she's definitely was the best wing player in this class. We all know what she did at Tennessee as a scorer. I think she will have. I think the game once the game slows down for her at this level, I think her athleticism, I think putting the ball on the floor, I just think she will excel just like that. I just for a player like her, I just think she is also, I think in my opinion, a very underrated rebounder. So I like that one. What were your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much more thoughts on this pick for LA. It was just picking the best player available after Camilla, and that was Rukia Jackson. So I that's kind of where I stand on that. But it's gonna be fun to see her in LA.
For sure. And also too, like when you kind of look at it, I Azare Stevens and Julie Allemon, they're going to be out by like the first month because of injuries. So keep your eye on that. Um,
Azure Steve, one thing on Azure Stevens, we're talking about earlier with Cam and getting a great coach in Kurt Miller. Azure Stevens is a great vet to learn from
mhm.
for Cam as well. I noticed that after she was drafted, I forgot for a second that Azure was on the Sparks. So no, she's a great vet. She's a great vet to learn from. So that's another thing that'll help Cam in the pros.
For sure. Let's move to the 5th overall pick. This is where my first curve curve graded curve for the Dallas Wings, and that was J.C. Sheldon.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airways, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Okay. I'm gonna let you take the first stab at it. You go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, what are you doing? You got you either got the best fit or the best player available in the draft, and for me, the best player available is Aaliyah Edwards, and you pass up on her. And yeah, I get it. You have Satu Sablia. You just re-signed her, and you want to establish her as a franchise player, but that doesn't mean you can't take a swing on Aaliyah Edwards or go put like they ditched post period and they got JC Shelton. You got I know she's not gonna start, but you got Urike Ogunbowale, so and you want to give a player like Sheldon some playing time. So um it just it didn't make sense. It did not make sense at all.
I'm different. Um, because Dallas already had a roster that was crowded. And you're kind of looking at this like JC Sheldon is a great shooter. I think that will give something, especially off the bench. Also alongside Veronica Burton. Don't sleep with her. I think she's gonna have a breakout year this season as well. But I just think that they were better players, like as you stated. I mean, I think the biggest thing, I guess, I don't know, was it their perimeter defense and her catch and shoot? Was that something that caught the attention of our friend and CEO of the Wings, Mr. Greg Bibb? So I'm a little curious with that. Um, and then they also had the 9th overall pick. They had Carla uh, Letty. This was an absolute question mark. The same thing. I don't expect her. Well, she first of all, she will not be participating she'll be getting ready for the Olympics. So I'm not a fan. That's not a fan of these draft and stash I mean, I don't hate it, but I mean, I looked at most mock drafts before, and most had her in the second, third round. So, what do you think?
Yeah, in terms of prospects, I really like the foreign players. There's a couple more that we're gonna get into, but as prospects, I really like the foreign players in this draft. And it's kind of how I see with the NBA too. I think more people should look at these players that play overseas because I think they could really translate well into the W. Um, but yeah, it's a shame that these overseas prospects aren't gonna get any run in the W partially because of the prioritization rule. But yeah, I graded the Wings overall at a C. It's kind of average for how they were positioned to improve their team. So and they did an average job, not great, not bad, but
No, I'm with you. My final grade for both was a C plus. And then also too, they took Ashley Owusu, former Maryland Terrapin, and I think she'll compete. I think she'll definitely make her name known. This training camp is almost approaching. Um, they do have some questions. Um, Lou Lopez, Chanel, should be
yeah, it's a
next
natural.
year.
Yeah,
It's a natural.
I hope
Thank you.
she is because she looked good. She
And
looked good
then
before she
Stephanie
went down, so I
Soros.
hope she comes back.
Sorry, so they have a lot of decisions to what to do with that roster in Dallas. But number 6, it's a new era. I would not have thought the day would come, but it came. The 6th overall pick, we took Aaliyah Edwards, um, the Elena Della Dawn era in Washington is over.
I mean, damn! Damn! I mean, this is some bad stuff.
And look, okay, in all seriousness, um, look, the off season it just was something. I knew this draft sets, I think, resets the vision what I hope will look like for the Mystics. Losing Natasha, obviously to Phoenix, Della Dawn sitting out this year. Um, Still, that's kind of where how that happened. But I think she's a pro. Aaliyah Edwards is a pro ready player. I had a couple questions, and I wrote this on an article for Team NBS Media. Was Angel Reese considered here? Now, I would like to see her play here, but when you're playing home, there's more pressure and different things like that. But I think Aaliyah will complement Shakira Austin really well because I mean she can do everything, defend, rebound at a high level. So, and she played a reason, and she definitely was the reason was one of the reasons why UConn was in the Final Four. Um, so I just want to see her offensive game outside the perimeter step up, be developed. But Aaliyah will be fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's a pro player. Because she went to UConn. That's the simple fact. That's what they do. They develop pro players. I got to watch Aaliyah in person a couple of times at in the NCAA tournament in Portland. And she definitely looked the part of a pro ready player. So I'm happy that she gets to go to the Mystics. I think this is a perfect fit. I think this is a perfect fit for her. I think this is a perfect fit for the Mystics. And I hope this one works out. And it's pretty funny looking back at the last 2 years after Sue Bird left and Brianna Stewart left. The roles that you and I are having right now were switched because I was saying basically exactly what you were when Sue Bird left, and then Brianna Stewart left right after. So it's pretty, it's I don't want to say satisfying, but it's listen, man. Skylar Diggins Smith and Nneka Ogwumike can really change your mood. so it's pretty cool to see the roles reversed and see where
if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they
Enjoy it. But in all seriousness, though, also the other two picks by the Mystics, Kayleen Trong out of Gonzaga, that was not a bad pick. And then they took the third and the 30th overall pick was Shista Sinsen. I name dropped that, but she's from Belgium. I don't expect them to be making the team at all. Those were two questionable picks. I think Trong, out of Gonzaga I think statistically could make the team because the biggest area Washington did not address was point guard. And now you kind of question who's playing point guard: Ariel Atkins, Brittany Sykes, Dee Dee Richards. Like, what are we doing? So it should be interesting to see what it looks like in Washington. Let's go to back number 7, Chi-Town. They took Angel Reese. Just give me your thoughts on this pick.
Yeah, I really like this pick. I kind of factored it in with Chicago overall. I gave their draft an A, and kind of an A plus. And I really like this pairing. I really, really, really like this pairing of Angel and Camila. I think Angel's gonna have her challenges with posts in the W, but she has the ability to rise to the challenge. So, with a familiar coaching staff in Chicago, I think I heard something about Teresa Weatherspoon having ties with Kim Mulkey. So this is a somewhat familiar coaching staff. I think she could thrive, but it could take a while for her personally. So we'll see. But I think Chicago's a great fit for her.
Yeah, for sure. I second those thoughts. I mean, again, the only thing you just look is her offensive upside. Her rebounding skills are, like you said, should be no problem. You gotta love her on the court enthusiasm. Just the motivation to win. But the offensive side of the ball, and I'm not a fan. And again, it's just my opinion. I don't like to see. They did the same thing with Haley Jones. They started putting out the videos of her in the gym. And the biggest thing was because she was supposed to be the second overall pick. And I'm going, I believe it was 8 to Atlanta, something like that. I can't remember correctly. And I was like, well, why am I seeing videos of Angel now working on a 3-point shot and different things? I should have seen that her first year at LSU, should have seen it at Maryland, and even this year. But I like I said, Angel will be fine. I have no issues with it. Only thing I would question was Rickea Jackson considered at 3. But hey, take your pick. I like it. Let's go to number 8, Minnesota. They took Elisa Peely. I like it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I think I feel like she's a little undersized as a big. And that could be a problem with facing the posts in this league. But she's a big presence. One of the players switching to college really quick. One of the players that I'm a really big fan of is Reagan Beers from Oregon State. Now she's transferring to another school. And why I'm a big fan of her is she is unstoppable. Once she gets the ball in the post, nobody can stop her. And I hope a lot of people notice that in the NCAA tournament when they went on that Elite Eight run. Um, she was unstoppable, and she also influenced the rebounding. Um, when she was not playing in a game, USC got 50 rebounds at a game that I was playing in, or not playing in, watching, in person. So uh, that I mean, they're similar size. Going back to Alyssa Peely, they're similar size. Um, I think Alyssa is a better passer. Um, so she can pass from the post when she's double teamed because I bet she's going to get double teamed a lot in the post in this league. So being able to kick out to 3-point shooters, I think, is a big plus for her. I'm interested to see if this works out and if Cheryl Reeve can coach her up. I'm just worried about her size.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest questions. I was confident she'd be a first round pick. The only problem is, like you said, at her with her height is what is going to be her position in the W. Personally, I think she's either going to be a 3 or a 4.
They have her listed as a 3.
But I kind of see her playing more of the 4 because I mean you have Diamond there and then Fee, so
Yeah, and the 3 is more of a combo shooting guard. The
yeah.
3 is more of a combo shooting guard, so it's gonna be interesting. I hope she plays more of the 4. It's just that size that I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's my only concern. But outside of that, and also to just work on her defense a little bit, that was something that I noticed some people were very critical of. And I mean, I think she's an average defender, but I think give it time, she'll be better. And they also took Kiki Jefferson. That's definitely a steal, in my personal opinion. And that should work for her. So Cheryl did her thing in this draft. Any final thoughts on Minnesota?
No, that's everything that I have.
Okay. We already talked about this pick with Dallas. The last 3 picks, we're going to take a little quick break, and we'll be right back with Connecticut, New York, and Atlanta. And we're back. Let's get into the 10th overall pick, the Connecticut Sun, Leela LeCan. I'm just going to keep it honest with you. I just don't think with this roster, I wouldn't say it's peaked, but the draft I just don't think address what Connecticut needs. I really felt as though I think it's a free agent personally. I mean, she won't be over here this season. I think she's a great player. I don't know. So you give me your thoughts.
Yeah, just a drafting stats for me. Not too much thoughts on this particular pick. But I do like the overseas players on this in this draft. So that's just the only thing for me. one piece of or something from this particular draft that Connecticut had. Huge shout out to Abby Shu for not only being the first Columbia player that actually uh, graduated from the school to be drafted. She has a hell of a story, from surviving the Parkland shooting to her dad dying like right after COVID started, um, to making the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. Um, Amazing, amazing, amazing story. So huge shout out to her. And she's a fantastic player, fantastic shooter. So really happy for Abby Shu.
Sure. Shout out to Abby Shu, most deserved. Also, too, she was also taken um, in this draft as well. Tatiana, what's her name? Tatiana Jackson was also taken. It was really heavy on the guards. They did get a forward, but I mean, with the forwards they already have in Connecticut, they should be okay. Helena Palio out of Arizona. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see how they compete. But with Tatiana, I definitely think a center. I think it was an area of need, even though they got Olivia Nelson Odata. I think that would definitely be some just depth. I looked at more of these as depth picks, but again, I just don't think that this draft fills what Connecticut needs. That's just my opinion. Um, 11 with 11 overall pick, the New York Liberty took Markeisha Davis out of Ole Miss. If you all watched the WNBA finals and sometimes in the regular season, Brenden, what was the biggest weakness?
Shooting
Wrong. Defense. I
defense.
thought, especially the perimeter defense, and they definitely needed some work. I think she will definitely give them some. I think she'll give them that. I think there's been more size from the perimeter. The only questions when looking back at the tape, she just needs to work on a jump shot. Outside of that, she definitely finishes at the rim. No problems with that. Just got to get her perimeter shot. The same thing with the previous pick. Great ball handler, all those different things like that. But the question is, will it transition into the pros?
Yeah. I didn't do like a too deep of a dive on what the Liberty needed in the draft. So um I kind of was like, okay, what's the vision here for Markeisha Davis? Um, but that explains a lot. Yeah, they really did need defense in the finals. That was one of their biggest weaknesses, if not their biggest. So that was a great addition. So hopefully they can integrate her somehow this next year.
For sure. New York also they drafted um, Caitlin Davis. She will not be playing this year as she will be committing overseas. Um, Esm Esmery Martinez out of Arizona, and Jessica Carter out of Mississippi State. My hope is Jessica Carter will make the roster. But again, New York's I think they have a tight salary cap, so um, more than likely they're probably just going to roll with 11 players. No one had seen that in the past, so I think overall I give New York, I give them a B plus. Would you give them as a
Yeah, that's about what I gave them. I gave them yeah, I gave them a B.
okay?
I gave
Okay.
them a B.
And then the last team that was in the first round, the Atlanta Dream, Nadia Pooch. It's incomplete for me. I just don't, I just don't see what the vision here was Atlanta. I mean, on my mock draft, I had her as a late first round pick. She had from looking at looking at footage, she has speed, she has size. I think she is also a two-way player. She's a good defender. I Does it fit Atlanta is the question. And my answer is really no. I don't really know what the Dream were doing with this draft, and I'll give you the floor on that one.
Yeah, well, they went overseas here because they selected three overseas players or foreign players. So they really attacked that part of the draft. So it sucks because I think all three of the players that they selected won't be playing with them this upcoming season. So it sucks in that aspect. But I kind of see the vision. Um, in they really want to take advantage of the overseas prospects in this draft. So I would totally understand if you gave them an incomplete because I mean, the fact that they are probably not going to be playing this next year, that does factor into that grade. Um, little factor. This is a pretty cool one. Um, their 32nd pick, Matilde Villa from Italy. Her sister goes to Washington State, and she's a good friend of mine. And we were trying to get her to come to WSU, but I'm so happy that she got drafted. I was texting her sister after she got selected, and she was really happy. So shout out to her. I wish I got to watch her play because she's better than her sister, and her sister who plays on WSU is pretty damn good.
I like that. And then also too, they had the 20th overall pick, Isabeau Berlace out of Australia. Same thing. Draft and stash. I mean, they're all. They're all like you said. They're not projected to play, so I would have liked them to address. I I think for immediate impact, you know, they seem comfortable with their roster going into the season. So just see how it looks. So
Can we go back to New York really quick because
sure.
I forgot a piece of their moves in the draft in the draft. It wasn't necessarily in the draft, but it was after. Shout out to Jalen Sherrod for I think she's gonna prove a lot of people wrong because I think she should have gotten drafted. Um, she is a dog. She is a dog on the court. Um, I love her change of speed when attacking the basket. She once she hits that second gear, she'll go from 0 to 100 in 1-2 seconds. So she's not afraid of any contact at all. So she's going to be a very tough cut if she does get cut from the Liberty. Um, but I really hope she makes this final roster. So shout out to her.
For sure. Definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I was very surprised. There were some guards, like I said, that should have been taken. It wasn't the first round, second round overall, because there were some guards I even questioned, like, oh, okay. And she was just I don't know what it is, especially with the league and small guards. I don't get that, especially point guards. That's something that infuriates me. The other two teams that were not in the first round, the Las Vegas Aces.
Hmm.
Christmas came for them early. And then we didn't also the Phoenix Mercury as well. We didn't even mention them as well. Mention them a little bit. But Christmas came for them early. They got at the third all-time leading scorer in NCAA basketball, Deja Fair. I think is a steal at 16.
Yeah.
Kate Martin. Can you imagine? He got the draft, to support, your teammate and to hear your name called. This 18th overall pick. Man, just like I feel like this draft addressed a lot of what Las Vegas need Kitley, Elizabeth Kitley. She will be out this season. She's caught for a leg injury. And Miss Angel Jackson, out of Jackson State, that should be a good pick as well for the Aces. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I said coming into this draft, I said the draft is where uh great players get selected, dreams come true, and the Aces just get that much more OP. Um, and that's exactly what happened. Um, if you're an Aces exec, you're gonna have to walk me through the Kate Martin pick, but I just love that she was there to support her teammate, and that's all she was there for, and she got to do the whole podium commissioner walk, because only certain players were quote unquote invited to the draft and got to sit in the or like go on the orange carpet and everything. Um, and Kate was not one of those players, so I really love that she got to be a part of that. Yeah, the Aces just got better. You can't really give them a grade. I gave them a B, but it's just because like they're already so good. It's just how can they possibly get better? And they answer that question for all of us.
For sure. The only thing I noticed with the Kate Martin pick, you kind of also question what that means for Kirsten Bell. Because, I mean, she hasn't improved, but she hasn't declined. She's like plateaued. So I don't know if it's the system or what it is. But Angel Jackson, got to shout her out. She's the second player to be drafted from an HBCU. I think she's a solid defender. I think she will make a case to make the opening day roster, in my opinion. So big ups to the Las Vegas Aces. All right, Brendan,
I think Daisha Fair and I think Daisha Fair is the steal of the draft, and
for sure.
I think Elizabeth Kitley is going to be a that's a great fit for her as
Mhm.
soon as she recovers, because she's going to really help the Aces a lot.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. Uh, as we get ready to wrap it up, we got a couple minutes. We got a couple minutes left. Uh, let's talk about your team, Seattle. Get them.
Yeah, Seattle. One of the steals of the draft. They let the draft come to them and got Nika Mule from UConn. If there's one thing about Seattle Storm or about the Seattle Storm, they're either going to have a player from Australia on their team, or they're going to have a player from UConn on their team, or they're going to have both, and that's the case for this year. Um, so great pick by Seattle to get Nika Mule. I gave them a B minus as well. And I was on the post draft Zoom, and I was really worried about this Nika Mule pick, and them keeping Jade Melbourne. But after speaking with the coach and the GM, we still got to go through training camp, but it seems pretty certain that we're gonna keep Jade and Nika on the roster. So that means we would have three point guards. I don't really consider Jordan a point guard, but yeah, that's just my thoughts. But I really love that Nika is gonna be on the Seattle Storm, and it's kind of a full circle moment because she idolizes Sue Bird. So
My gosh, that's me. I liked it. I liked the picks. I agree. I gave it a B minus. Lele Coates is also with them, so I expect her to make the team. Looking very happy for her. Last team before we end the episode, Phoenix Mercury. I gave them a B. Charisma Osborne, Jazz Shelley. I definitely think they're both 2 fifth-year seniors. I think they're going to contribute right away. And Phoenix definitely needs some perimeter defense. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I like Charisma Osborne. I think she should have been a first round pick. Um, at least a second round pick. So I do like Charisma Osborne. So I think she could contribute right away. So that's my thoughts on Phoenix. So I really like the those additions as well.
For sure. And also, I want to go back to Seattle. You guys also drafted Mackenzie Forbes. She
Yeah.
will be out this
Yeah,
upcoming season.
She'll be out for the season. She hasn't had the surgery yet. So she's going to be a draft and stash, but just because of injury. That was another point that was made in the Zoom that I was a part of.
Sure.
She hasn't had the surgery yet, but yeah, she will be. I question if she's gonna make the roster because we have a couple of training camp invites. We just got another one in Quay Miller,
Okay.
who's another one of my favorites at Colorado. So I question if Mackenzie's going to be able to make the roster because we don't necessarily. I mean, Dulcie's a very bad example, but we don't necessarily keep our third round picks.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if she's going to make the roster, especially with the training camp invites that we got in.
Well, I mean, we'll see, especially how it looks next year. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude the episode. I thought this was a great draft. I liked it. There, like I said, there was some head scratchers. There were definitely some "what the hell are you doing" moments. But there was a lot of moments where you were really happy, especially like for real quick. I'm just going to take 1 minute. Carmella, her story, just getting to this point. Alyssa Pile, representing her culture and for indigenous people. Just really just happy for these young women, and I can't wait to see what they'll do in the league.
Yeah, same with me. One thing on the draft, it should never not have a crowd ever again. This was the first. This was the first experience where it had a crowd, and yeah, it was packed with a bunch of Indiana Fever / Caitlin Clark fans. Who cares? It was an amazing experience for everybody, and I'm so happy that all of these women in a game-changing class were able to make their childhood dreams come true. And this is pretty cool. And hey, the W's one day closer to getting tipped off. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. That's how we're going to end the episode.
It's Friday night and I hit up the crew. Grab the keys, jump in my ride, cruise the town and can find something new. Hit the club, the DJ's got the dance floor in a groove, and none of that compares to when I turned around and saw you. I can't understand it, girl. How you do the things I'm wanting to do. While we're in this club, hey, all I wanna do is dance with you.
I wanna dance with you.
The moment that I saw your face, I knew I wasn't leaving till I got a chance to know you. But I'm still nervous, trying not to lose my cool. So I'm stuck, sitting watching you. I don't know what to do. Can't understand. Oh, yeah. How you do the thing I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, all I wanna do is dance with you.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you for everything you do.